Very tragic that my list got cut off. So to recap, Mike Messier, favorite tag team list, not greatest. We'll just blaze through it. This is part two. Uh, Number 15, America's Most Wanted, 2004 era. I believe Chris Harris and James Storm. Number 14, The Beautiful People, Velvet Sky, and Angelina Jill. I can't always say that. Angelina Love, okay, 2008. Number 13, The New Day, 2016, all three members. You have to give that up to them. Kofi, Big E, and I want to say Consequences Creed, but obviously it's not his name anymore. Number 12, The Samoans, Often Sika, original members, 1983. And I'm driving myself nuts because I can't remember the guy's New Day name. Number 11, the two-man power trip, Steve Austin and Triple H. Number 10, 2001. Number 10, Steamboat and Youngblood, 1983. Number 9, Johnson and Atlas, Tony Atlas, Rocky Soulman Johnson, 1983. 8, Fantastics, 1988. Tully and Arn, 1988. They were number 7. Number 6, Johnson and Atlas in 83. 5, Midnight Express, 87. Lane and Eaton version with Jim Cornette, of course. Number 4, British Bulldogs, 1986. Dynamite Kid, Davey Boy Smith. Managed by Captain Lou Albano. I should have said that for the most part. And Matilda, I guess. Number 3, yes, the Dudleys. That's why we're all here to discuss tag teams. I am putting the Dudleys in number 3, and I know that Bubba Ray Dudley's retiring tonight or yesterday, and everyone's going to say he's the greatest, part of the greatest tag team of all time, blah, blah, blah. I'm here to tell you my favorite, third favorite. Dudleys, but great. So now we get to, and why? Because they had great matches, I was saying, even with New Jack and Mustafa, the gangsters. And why do I even put it like that? Just because of crimes against wrestling in general, New Jack, okay? But give them fucking credit. New Jack's a big part of the success of the Dudleys, as he is their New Jack success. They work together, great. So the Dudleys and all the great victories over the Eliminators, Spike and New Jack. And New Jack, give him credit. He had a lot of good tag teams. New Jack and Cronus, Spike Dudley, everybody, Axel and Balls. And the Eliminators. And the number 2, now this is where it's getting very controversial, folks. So I mentioned all these great tag teams, and you might be saying, wow, there's someone you haven't mentioned. Well, I am going to mention them. And you might be thinking, well, he's got to say, and some things that I put on there that was kind of, I was having a little bit of fun. Okay, I'm not the most experienced in Bockwinkel and Patterson matches or the Kentuckians. I mean, these are teams I've read about. I've done the research. I can't say that I sat there front row and watched the Kentuckians wrestle the original sheep herders from New Zealand for an hour, or I didn't watch Patterson and Bockwinkel wrestle, Vern Gagne and the Crusher in Minnesota. Okay, I'm not that much of a time traveler, but I'm going to give you this. The number 2 tag team, 1984. I believe on Labor Day 84, they won the AWA World Tag Team Champions. Yeah, number 2. And it's almost painful to say that. I'm saying the Road Warriors are number 2 for my favorite tag team. And it sounds a little odd coming from me, because I'm always putting over the Road Warriors. And if I had to watch the matches of only one tag team, I probably would just stick with the Road Warriors and all the things they did in Japan. So I could go on and on about the goddamn Road Warriors, and I hate to even say that. It sounds disrespectful, but the Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal, no offense to Draws, no offense to, the gentlemen in Japan, the Hellraisers and all that. But to me, the Road Warriors are point blank. Precious Paul Ellering with the Wall Street Journal, Hawk and Animal. And they had a lot of great years, but I'm going with 84 because they kind of went from Georgia over to AWA. They went from the top NWA Georgia team to the top AWA team. And the great thing about the Road Warriors, you can almost make a case for 85 for them, because they were able to take their belts on the road. I don't know what they worked out with Vern Gagne. I don't know what they did, but they were able to go all over the world and wrestle. There's this AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels match just came up there. But the Road Warriors are great, and just great. And I do have a funny story. I guess I'll tell because we're here. 19 something or other. It was a year. I think it was actually 2007. I went to this local toy store that has wrestling stuff. You know, it's a wrestling. It's like a collectible shop basically. They have a lot of wrestling stuff. I went in there, and they had just what I needed: a single Road Warrior Hawk Remco action figure. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy it. $7. So I bought the Road Warrior Hawk for $7. I'm walking around this little mall. This mall's like a dead mall, right? And this guy that I used to wrestle a few matches, and my opponent that I used to wrestle, you know, good guy, he's in the mall with a couple of his friends, you know, and hey, you know, all that crap. And then I said to him, hey, who's your favorite, you know, dead wrestler? That's how I put it bluntly. And he said, Hawk, immediately. He said, Hawk. And I pulled out the Hawk action figure. And he freaked out. His eyes just bulged out of his head. And so it was just kind of one of those funny moments, you know, Messier moment. So the number one tag team on my list. Okay. Who have I not said? You want to take any guesses, folks? Here's your chance to guess. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, indeed. 1990. Okay, who are you going to... I mean, I said 1990. Who could it be? I mean, who was great? The Beverly Brothers, the Orient Express, the Rockers, the Hart Foundation? I forgot the Hart Foundation. They weren't even on this list. The number one tag team on my favorite list, and this is nobody else's list but my own. You can have your own list if you want. You can put the Hart Foundation number one if you want, and I couldn't argue with that. I'm putting the Steiners. Yes, Rick and Scott Steiner. Why would I do such a thing? If you look at the Steiners matches, 1990, and yeah, into 91, can make a case, but they were injured in 91, I believe. Just great matches, man. And just Rick and Scott Steiner. See, it's funny because I wanted to say Luger and Sting, but that wasn't until 91. But I'm sticking with 1990. They had great matches with the Freebirds, with Doom, okay? You know, and even in 89, they beat the Road Warriors on a pin. You know, it's a Future Shock 89, Starrcade. But I think you gotta go, as far as a tag team doing the things in Japan, fighting, I believe in 90, it might have been 91, they fought Sting and Muta in Japan. The Steiners, man. Beating the Freebirds, the Nasty Boys, okay, if nothing else. Just the Steiners were a couple of badasses, and, you know, as far as Scott Steiner or his mentality, and I know I've said things about, you know, I didn't want to go see the Steiners and the Spirit Squad, it's one of my other videos, but the thing is, that's 2017. We're talking 1990. Yeah, man, I wouldn't want to mess with those guys, and I think that when the Road Warriors went over to the WWF, I believe, they were there for SummerSlam 90, the Steiners were left on their own to carry the tag team division with guys like Doom. And Doom was a great team. I forgot them, too. They would be on a top 20 list. But the Steiners make my number one choice. And trying to put I guess Halloween Havoc. Okay, here you go. 1990, you want to see the Steiners are the best. Do this for yourself. The network or DVD, however, YouTube. 1990 Halloween Havoc against the Nasty Boys. And Starrcade 1990, the Pat O'Connor Memorial Cup Tag Team Tournament out of St. Louis. That's what you got to watch if you want to watch Steiners. They face 3 great teams. I believe, are they the ones that fought Conan and fucking Rey Mysterio Sr.? That might have been the Steiners, but in any event, check out the Steiners. Yeah, and see the Road Warriors, man, they'll trip you up. So this is Mike Messier. If you sat through these fucking these 2 tapes or 2 videos or whatever the fuck, congratulations. I got my list. Steiners are number 1. For Bubba Ray Dudley, if he ever watches this, congratulations. You've had a great career. He was always very nice to me. I interviewed him a few times, always really respectful. And I once told Bubba Ray Dudley, Bubba Ray, you are the Bret Hart of the Dudley family. And he always liked that. So, in any event, that's it. Mike Messier.